Hi everybody, hope that you have been well and God has been gracious to you. I wanted to share something that sort of leapt out when I was reading the Bible today. That is in Matthew chapter 11. So John sends his disciples to go and ask Jesus, are you the Messiah that we were expecting, or is there another Messiah that we should be expecting? And so I was like, wait a minute. John the Baptist is the one that baptized Jesus, and after the baptism, the Holy Spirit came down, and even there was a voice from heaven of God saying that this is my son in whom I am well pleased. And so I believe that was enough confirmation to John, because he even said that here comes the one whose sandals I am not even worthy to untie. So he does know that this is the Messiah. But then this is coming at a time when John the Baptist has now been imprisoned. What happened was he condemned, I believe it was King Herod, for marrying the sister-in-law, and he got imprisoned because of that, and he's later on going to get beheaded. So he's here in prison, and he's wondering, is this actually the Messiah? There's also the fact that John the Baptist and Jesus are actually related, because Mary, the mother of Jesus, and Elizabeth are cousins. So here you are in prison, and you have a relative who you know is absolutely powerful, that is able to help you and has done absolutely nothing for you in that situation. You are in prison by yourself. You are going through the motions of, you can imagine just being in prison, all the motions that he was going through during that time. And he's thinking at the back of his mind that I have a relative who is absolutely powerful, who can get me out of prison like this. And then during the time of Jesus, there was this misconception that Jesus was going to liberate them politically, whilst Jesus was coming for more of a spiritual liberation. But the misconception was that there was this king that would come, and there's this Messiah that would come. And because during that time they were under the Roman Empire, and they were quite suffering under that, so they were expecting that there would then be a king and a Messiah and a savior to come and save them. So John is here thinking, but the Messiah is here, the one who was prophesied, the political liberator is here. Why am I in prison? He is able to save me from all of this, and he doesn't. And so the message for me was like, do you sometimes find yourself in a situation where you know that God is able to do it, but he's not doing it for you? I think that was when John the Baptist was sending the disciples to go ask, are you actually the Messiah? And Jesus sent them back and said that, go and tell him that I'm healing the lame and the blind and the deaf and the paralyzed, and I'm raising the dead to life. And he said, and he told them not to doubt. And so John is even hearing that this guy is able to wake the dead up and heal the paralyzed and the deaf and do all of these miracles. And it's like, oh wow, really? And you can't get me from prison? So you are actually able to do all of these things, and you are not able to get me from prison? And it got me thinking, how many times does that happen, where we know that God is able to get us out of a situation, and then he just keeps you in it? Like God just kept John the Baptist in prison. Remember when Jesus' ministry started, actually when Jesus' ministry starts, John the Baptist ministry ends. And that is how it was written, and that is how God ordained it. But so many times we sit and we ask ourselves, God, you are able to do this for me, why are you not doing it for me? You are able to, maybe you're watching your friends having babies, they're on the 5th child, and you have still not gotten even your first baby. You're still waiting on God to give you something that you have been petitioning him for year in, year out. It is still not coming. And it's not that you don't even think he's capable. You know that God is capable. You have seen him work other miracles in your life, and you're seeing him work miracles in other people's lives. You're seeing him move. You are seeing the God of the Bible in other people's lives, but you're not experiencing that God of the Bible in your life. And it's leaving you with so many questions of, what am I not doing? What can I do? Why is he not moving in my life? And one of the things that I have found that can really stall you when it comes to your walk with God is questions. Asking God, why me? why me? Why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to my family? Why was I born in this family? You know, this, maybe you're from a toxic family and you're like, why was I born into this family? Or why did I have to land in this job that's a toxic work environment? You know, why am I still job hunting? You know, and why am I still searching for a baby? Am I still not married? And maybe you're in your 40s and you've been desiring marriage, and you know, you're feeling that time is going and it's not happening for you. You know, all of this why and why and why questions of asking a God that you know is able to do it, and he doesn't do it for you. As you sit and you watch other people getting the blessings that you want, you watch your friends getting blessed, you watch your family members getting blessed, you watch miracles happening for them, yet them not happening for you. Or rather, it's not that miracles are not happening in your life, but the miracle specifically that you really want is not happening in your life, and you're asking God why. And the thing that I have found that I wanted to share, even as John was asking himself probably, why am I still here in prison? Why is God not helping me? Is that you have to trust that God has a bigger plan than yours, and you have to be okay with having unanswered questions. Let me tell you, in your walk with God, you truly have to find peace with the fact that you will not have answers to every question that you ask. You will never understand why that person you love so much had to pass away. Why did they have to die at that time? They were so young, or whatever. You have questions and you're questioning God, and it is frustrating you because the more you ask, the more you don't get answers, and you don't get the answers that you want to get, and it's frustrating you. And I'm just here to tell you that it may not be what you want to hear, but you may never, on this side of earth, you may never get the answer why. There are things that you will just understand in heaven when you're sitting face to face with God and he tells you that this is why this had to happen. But on this side of eternity, we may never understand the challenges that we go through. We may never get answered that question of why is this happening to me. You may never understand it. And brethren, you need to have peace. You need to have peace with the fact that God may not answer you, that God may not tell you why. And the reason that you're going to have peace is you're going to trust that I don't know why I had to go through what I'm going through, but I trust that it is somehow for my good, that in the grand scheme of things, that God in his eternity perspective, that this is for my good, is for the good of my children, is for the good of my generation, is for the good of my parents, that it is somehow for your good. And to trust your life to an eternal loving God who knows what is best for you even when you don't know, because the end of the day is we don't have the full picture. And the reason that we ask why is because we want control of our lives. We want to understand the why. But when you walk and you begin to mature in faith, is you start to realize that I don't need that answer. Is that I don't need to understand why. God knows why. And you need to start settling in your heart that so long as God knows why, then it's okay. I don't need to understand it. I can find peace in the fact that God knows the reason why. And it might be a hard pill to swallow depending on where you are at right now and all the questions that you have. And the thing about questions is the more you don't get answers is the bitter you get. The more you keep asking God and he's not telling you why, you start to get bitter. You start to feel, God, why are you not answering me? Why are you not explaining? Please make it make sense. Make what I am going through make sense. Sometimes if you're lucky, yes, in retrospect, you get to see the answer. Like right now, there are things I can look back maybe 10, 20 years ago and I can understand why I had to go through what I went through. But there are things I look back at and I'm still not sure, why did I have to go through what I went through? But then you trust that God knows the why and it is for your good, and you find rest and you find assurance in the fact that God knows why. So I'm here to tell you, it may not be, the most preacher message to share, but sometimes you may not get the answers and you need to find peace with that. And if I'm looking at the life of John the Baptist and he's here wondering, are you the Messiah? Are you the one that we were expecting? And he ends up being beheaded. Now that might have looked, he was in prison for relatively, scholars say, maybe around 2 years before he was gruesomely publicly killed. And in retrospect, looking back, he may not have understood it, but he was martyred. Do you say martyred? Mattyred. And up to now, we'll still speak of John the Baptist, the man that paved the way for Jesus. And because his life sort of mirrored the life of Jesus, in retrospect, he had to go he had to die in such a way that Jesus also died. He had to die publicly. He had to die through a means of, well, maybe not shame, but the public, dying in public and having to just shed blood in the way that he did. And his life was in a way mirroring the life of Jesus. And he may not have understood it while he was in prison. And he was not thinking about it in the sense of a 2,000-year perspective. He was not thinking about it that 100 generations later, we would still be looking at the life of John the Baptist, and it makes sense now. So some of what you're going through, it may not make sense for you now, but it may make sense for your children. Maybe your children will say, oh wow, we are living these blessings because of the life that my mother and father lived, that my mother or my grandfather lived. So to find rest and to find peace in not having all your questions answered is going to really help you trust in God. Is going to help you to have peace. It's going to help you to have assurance. It's going to help you to be completely surrendered, and more than anything, it's going to help you relinquish control of your life. It's going to help you give control to God and tell God that, listen, I don't understand what you're doing, but I trust that you know what you're doing, whether I understand it or I do not understand it. I pray that this word was a blessing to you. Be blessed. Have a lovely evening.